Once upon a time, in a quiet village surrounded by dense forests and endless rivers, there lived a man named Okoro. Okoro was a humble palm wine tapper known for his good heart but cursed with bad luck. Every woman he loved either left him or died mysteriously. The villagers whispered that the gods had turned their backs on him, but Okoro never gave up on love. He prayed every night under the old Iroko tree, asking the spirits for a wife who would never leave him. One evening, as the sun disappeared beyond the hills, Okoro walked home through the forest path after tapping his last tree. He heard a soft cry echoing from the bushes. Cautiously, he followed the sound and found a beautiful woman sitting beside a stream, her skin glistening like the moonlight. Her eyes were wide, innocent, and strangely golden. Her name, she said, was Ninecam. Okoro was stunned by her beauty and asked where she came from, but she smiled and said, I have no home. The river carried me here. He offered her his wrapper to cover herself, and when she touched his hand, a chill ran down his spine. Something in her touch felt alive, yet he could not resist her charm. The next morning, Okoro took her to his hut, and by evening he told the elders that he had found a wife. The people rejoiced, though some old women muttered among themselves, saying no one had ever seen Ninecam before, not in any neighboring village. Their marriage was simple but joyful. Okoro thanked the gods for finally blessing him with a woman so kind and gentle, but something about Ninecam was different. She never ate with others. She avoided firelight, and every night she disappeared from their bed until dawn. Whenever Okoro asked where she went, she smiled faintly and said, I only go where I belong. At first he ignored it, thinking she prayed to her own gods, but soon strange things began to happen. The frogs near their hut never croaked again. Birds stopped nesting in the trees above their roof. And every morning he found trails of wet scales leading from the doorway to the riverbank. One night, unable to bear his curiosity, Okoro pretended to sleep. When the moon rose high, he heard a soft hiss and opened his eyes slowly. His heart froze. There before the dim moonlight, his wife's shadow stretched unnaturally long. Her legs twisted and fused together. Her tongue flickered like fire, and her eyes glowed yellow. His beautiful wife was turning into a snake. Okoro's breath caught in his throat as he watched in frozen horror. Nikem's skin shimmered like liquid gold, her hair melting into glistening scales as her body slithered silently out of the doorway and toward the river. He bit his lip to stop himself from crying out. When she reached the riverbank, her body plunged gracefully into the water, and the stream glowed faintly under the moon as though welcoming its true mistress home. The next morning, Nikem returned, her eyes soft and her skin warm again, as though nothing had happened. Okoro could barely look at her. He wanted to ask, to scream, to run, but when she smiled at him, his heart softened again. He told himself it must have been a dream born of exhaustion, but the dream didn't end. That week, he noticed that the neighbors' chickens vanished one after another. The goats near the stream refused to drink water, and a strange smell hung around their hut, like wet soil after lightning. The villagers whispered again, saying that Okoro's wife brought misfortune, but Okoro, blinded by love, defended her fiercely. She is not evil, he shouted. She is my wife, and the gods themselves blessed me with her. Yet deep inside, fear was growing. One day, while Nikem was away, Okoro's old friend Obi came to visit. Obi had traveled far and knew many strange stories. When Okoro told him of his wife's nightly absences, Obi's face turned pale. Okoro, he whispered, you have married an Adonwanyi Agwo, a serpent maiden. They appear as women to lonely men and feed on their life slowly. Have you not noticed how pale you have become, how weak your hands feel? Okoro laughed nervously, denying it, but when he looked down, he saw the truth. His veins looked faintly green under his skin. His strength had indeed been fading. Still, he loved her too much to believe such tales. That night, as the rain poured and thunder rolled, he decided to follow her again. Hiding behind the bushes, he watched as Nankem walked to the river, her voice soft and haunting as she sang. Slowly, her body began to change again. Her legs fused, her spine curved, and a great serpent with golden scales emerged. But this time, he saw something more terrifying. Dozens of smaller snakes slithered toward her from the river, bowing before her like servants greeting a queen. His heart pounded violently. He stumbled backward, snapping a twig under his foot. Nankem's head turned instantly, her golden eyes locking on his hiding spot. The snakes froze. The singing stopped. Okoro, she said, her voice no longer sweet but sharp and ancient. You were not meant to see this. The rain ceased. The forest fell silent, and before he could run, she slithered toward him.